Yesterday, we went through these 5 threatening dangers to dispel laziness, to dispel complacency. Briefly summarize, the first one is reflection on old age. The second, reflection of sickness. The third one, reflection of obtaining food. The fourth one, reflection of living in concord, living in peaceful and security, and in the future it might not be the same. The fifth one is about the split in the congregation. Reflecting these 5 factors could help us become less lazy and less complacent. Going back to the main text, this paragraph again, the 5 hindrances. Very quickly, the first one, desire. Second one is ill will. The third one, dullness and drowsiness, which we have covered extensively for the past few days. The fourth one, restlessness and worry, are most effectively countered by turning the mind to a simple object that tends to calm it down. Mindfulness of breathing, attention to the in and outflow of the breath. The last one, in the case of the doubt in the teachings of the Buddha, the special remedy is investigation. To make inquiries, ask questions, study the teachings until the obscure points become clear. I can share a little bit of my personal experience regarding this. Before I explore, I'm already a Buddhist, a nominal Buddhist, since I was young because my parents are Buddhists. And I went to a school and there is a subject of religion and they teach Buddhist as well. Even though they are Christians, though Christians during the hour of the subject, they can go to other class to receive a different subject. Yeah. So I will stay in the class to receive teachings of Buddhism, but the Christians and the Muslims, they will move to other classes. So they all get the same treatment. The reason that the Buddhists stay, because the majority are Buddhists. So imagine if in 50 people, 45 people are Buddhists, 45 people has to go to other class. Well, that would be a little bit chaotic. Yeah? And imagine if there are 10 classes during the hour, or they have to move around and gather everyone in the big hall. So it's not a religious discrimination. It's just a pragmatic purpose. Okay, I digress. But I have been nominal Buddhist since until 3 years ago. This is where I started to attend Shifu's class more regularly. I started with SGC, and then slowly I get attracted to how Shifu's style, Shifu's teaching, and Shifu's insight as well. So I started to attend classes more regularly, attend meditation class. I think culminating in 7 days novice retreat. Yeah, that was, I would say, life-changing. Second was the St. John's Islands retreat. Yeah. Yeah. And then afterwards, there is this morning meditation. But before that, like I mentioned, I'm still a nominal Buddhist. Means that I don't know much about Buddhism, and I had a lot of doubts in the teachings. Like, what is this about? Can it really help me in my life? Is rebirth actually a valid teaching? Yeah, so I had doubts. Then when I come to class, I did exactly this. I make inquiries. I ask questions to Shifu, and then study the teaching. I read a lot of books about Buddhism until I truly understand and clear my doubts. Yeah. This is, I think, one of the most effective way to learn. What are other ways to learn the Dharma? You can listen to Dharma talks, which is good as well. But I would say you learn the most when you ask questions and when you investigate the teachings yourself. That's why I encourage all of you to ask questions. Some of you are quite active, but some of you just listening. I mean, it's fine as well if you really don't have questions, but if you have, please just raise it up. And there is a art in asking questions as well. It's not easy because sometimes you might feel like, there's that saying that there's no stupid question. But sometimes you yourself feels like after asking that question, I feel like, why did I ask that question? Sounds so stupid. But the thing is, you won't know which questions are stupid, which questions are not, until you ask. So my suggestion is just ask. Don't care whether it's stupid or not, just ask. If it's stupid, you will know afterwards, and then you will not ask similar types of questions. So that is my personal experience regarding this fifth factor, which I have to say, I have not cleared 100%, but I say I have cleared my doubts quite extensively compared to 3 years ago. Okay, so that's about it for the 5 hindrances. Any specific hindrance you would still like to explore? Out of desire, ill will, dullness and drowsiness, restlessness and worry, and doubt. Any question before we close the 5 hindrances? I think we have covered the 5 hindrances quite extensively. I did that because I feel like it's quite relatable to our daily struggle, these 5 hindrances. Okay, if not, then we will move on to the next paragraph. Whereas this first of the 5 methods for expelling the hindrances involves a one-to-one alignment between a hindrance and its remedy, the other 4 utilize general approaches. The second marshals the forces of shame, hiri, and moral dread, or tapa. To abandon the unwanted thought, one reflects on the thought as vile and ignoble, or considers its undesirable consequences, until an inner revulsion sets in which drives the thought away. The third method involves a deliberate diversion of attention. When an unwholesome thought arises and clamors to be noticed, instead of indulging it, one simply shuts it out by redirecting one's attention elsewhere, as if closing one's eyes or looking away to avoid an unpleasant sight. The fourth method uses the opposite approach. Instead of turning away from the unwanted thought, one confronts it directly as an object, scrutinizes its features, and investigates its source. When this is done, the thought quiets down and eventually disappears. For an unwholesome thought is like a thief. It only creates trouble when its operation is concealed. But put under observation, it becomes tame. The fifth method, to be used only as a last resort, is suppression, vigorously restraining the unwholesome thought with the power of the will, in the way a strong man might throw a weaker man to the ground and keep him pinned there with his weight. This is just an analogy. Don't do this in real life. Pin someone into the floor. Okay, let's explore this. What are other techniques, other 4 techniques to dispel the 5 hindrances? The second one is the reflection of moral shame and moral dread. Hiri or tapa. This pair is usually mentioned together. When you want to do a certain act, if your moral shame and moral dread are ingrained, then you will hesitate to do the stuff. And you will also think about the long-term consequences of your actions. So frequent reflection on moral shame and dread can help you to dampen the unwanted thought as well. Let's define a few words here. File. Morally despicable or abhorrent, of little worth or account. Vile. Yeah. Thought that is vile and ignoble. Yeah. Ignoble should be the opposite of noble. Not honorable in character or purpose. Dishonorable, unworthy. Base, shameful, contemptible. One reflects on the thought as vile and ignoble, or considers its undesirable consequences until an inner revulsion. What is revulsion? A sense of disgust and loathing. Disgust, repulsion, repugnance. We reflect the thought as vile, ignoble, consider its undesirable consequences until an inner revulsion sets in. And then, hopefully, it drives the thought away, the unwanted thought. And the third method involves a deliberate diversion of attention. The analogy it gives here is interesting. As if closing one's eyes or looking away to avoid unpleasant sight. And this is from personal experience. I don't know if this happens in Singapore, but in my hometown, when I was with my brother, we were in a car. I think he was driving. There was when we passed a funeral, he always say to me, "Don't look, don't look, don't look. Turn away, don't look at the funeral." Yeah. His reasoning was, it would be a bad luck if I look at the funeral. But when I read this, that reminds me of that. Look away to avoid unpleasant sight. Does this happen in Singapore? No? Yes? So, same, huh? Okay, that's the third method. The fourth method uses the opposite approach. This is the one that, if you recall the Bhikkhu Bodhi's clip, the barking of the dog when he tried to meditate. Yeah, this is exactly what he did. Confronts it directly as the object, confront the barking of the dog, scrutinizes its features and investigates its source. When this is done, the thought quiets down and eventually disappears. This analogy is also mentioned in one of Bhikkhu Bodhi's talk. Yeah. Imagine like you have a shop, but there's no CCTV inside the shop. If there's a thief going inside the shop and he looks around, oh, there's no CCTV. And then it's easy for him to steal stuff, because he would probably not get caught. But if he enters the shop trying to steal something and then he noticed, oh, there's a camera, there's a CCTV, then he would restrain himself to steal stuff. Yeah. This is what this analogy is about. The last one, only when all other techniques fail, then we use suppression. Vigorously restraining the unwholesome thought with power of the will. Okay. So that's a little bit about this paragraph. Anything you would like to comment on or question? Yes, I can.
Yeah, just share the Chinese character for Kiri and Otapa.
Okay, sure.
So it's 惭跟愧. 惭愧, 惭跟愧. Then I also like to share the third point that you bring up about Chinese culture, about not looking. Yeah, this is how I was brought up also. So there are lots of Chinese culture. Like my mom will say, don't look, then you will not have all this. Then as a child, I will ask question, why? Is it true? There's this doubt in me. There's this question always arising. Like, even as young, when people get married and then they give the cakes for us to eat, previously they used to deliver cakes before getting married. So my mom will say there's this tradition, young children that are studying cannot eat the cake. Yeah, have you all come across this? No. So for me, it's like, why such a delicious thing, and then it's a happy occasion, and then why am I, what bad luck will it bring me, to eat this cake, So every time the adult eating the wedding cake, then the children will be there staring, looking, and salivating. Yeah. The reason they give is, it's a tradition passed down by the elders to say that if you eat, it will affect your result, your school work. Yeah, something like that. So it's very, very funny, and then I will not accept it. But I cannot, I mean, mentally, I don't accept it, but physically, when my mom or the adult ask me not to eat, I still will respect them. Yeah, there's something to share.
Yeah, it's just an excuse. They want to eat the whole cake because it's so nice.
No, I don't know where it comes from. Yeah. And then about the funeral, so my mom will say, if there's a funeral wake, you detour, you don't go across the void deck, you have to detour, go far away, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then after visiting a funeral, even now, when I come back home, she will make sure that I use the water with the xiao liu hui, the pomegranate leaves, to ward away bad luck. And then also there's a Chinese culture, you realize some of the funeral wakes, they will have the red color string. So you're supposed to tie, get back a red color string, that kind of thing. Yeah.
For me, it was 沾花坠, bathing.
Yeah, the hua, right, the water, that one is on for the relatives of the deceased. But for us that are visiting and come back home, so she said you have to cleanse yourself first, so that hui zui is that pomegranate leaves, the xiao liu hui, the flower she will put a pail with water and with that thing, and then put it. So before you enter the house, you better clean up your whole body because you are not clean after visiting a funeral. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, all these to me it's very missing, but yeah. After I learned Buddhism, you know, like karma and all that, wholesome, unwholesome. So I find this very funny.
Yeah. Chinese cultures are interesting.
Yeah,
They can come up with laws, you know.
a lot.
Stuff.
Yes.
Okay, thanks for sharing. Second. Okay, I'd like to just close this quickly by summarizing this last paragraph. This one. So, Xinghui, would you like to read?
By applying these 5 methods with skill and discretion, the Buddha says, one becomes a master of all the pathways of thought. One is no longer the subject of the mind, but its master. Whatever thought one wants to think, that one will think. Whatever thought one does not want to think, that one will not think. Even if unwholesome thoughts occasionally arise, one can dispel them immediately, just as quickly as a red-hot pan will turn to steam a few chance drops of water.
Thanks, Xinghui. Yeah, I think this paragraph summarizes beautifully of what we have read for many days before. If you applying these 5 methods with skill and discretion and in a consistent manner, frequently when the thought arises, then you will become a master of all pathways of thought. One is no longer subject of the mind, but its master. You are finally in control. Whatever thought one wants to think, that one will think. Whatever thought one does not want to think, that one will not think. Even if it arises, unwholesome thoughts occasionally will arise, one can dispel them immediately. Just as when you put a red hot pan and then you drop in a few drops of water and then it will just immediately evaporate. Yeah. That's a little bit about it for this second factor. We deal mostly with the 5 hindrances extensively. Any questions or comments from you? One more thing about asking questions. This is one nice essay by Harvard Business Review. The Surprising Power of Questions. Yeah. The title here says, How to Ask Great Questions. This is a long read, but I think it's a good read. So I'll paste this in chat as well. If no questions coming from you, let's do a dedication. 厌消三障诸烦恼，厌得智慧真明了，普厌罪障悉消除，实是常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛. Till we meet again, may we be guided by the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have a master of all the pathways of thought day ahead. So thanks everyone for participating. Good to see you guys. Happy weekend.
Thank you. Happy weekend.